You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Home Field Apparel. And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another victorious episode of the Assembly Call, as tonight your Indiana Hoosiers take care of business at Assembly Hall, defeating the Rutgers Fighting Ace Baileys 84-74 to move to 11-3 overall in the season, 2-1 in Big Ten play, in a game where really, it wasn't perfect, but Indiana took care of business. They came in as a 4 or 5 point favorite. Got the news right before the game that Dylan Harper, Rutgers' other star freshman, wasn't going to be able to play. Obviously, a huge problem for a Rutgers team that's pretty thin, behind those two freshmen. And Indiana is able to take care of business, get the double-digit victory, and get above 500 in conference play. I'm your host, Jared Morris. I am here with a full house. The coach, Ryan, Andy, all here with us, and we're going to break it down for you on this edition of the Assembly Call IU postgame show. And let's start this show the way that we start every show, and that is with our Hoosier Proud banner moment. And for the banner moment, I'm going to go back to the end of the first half. Indiana led the game 38-34, and in the final sequence, Rutgers had the ball. Obviously, they were going to get the ball to Ace Bailey because their one chance to win this game was for Ace Bailey to go off and just get a little bit of help from his teammates. Well, the first thing happened. The second one really didn't. But there was a stretch there at the end of the first half where Anthony Leal was guarding Ace Bailey, where it really kind of slowed him down a little bit. And that was really the sequence where Indiana pushed the lead out that they wouldn't relinquish. And so in this particular sequence, Indiana was up 38-34. Leal guards Bailey, forces him to give up the ball. Rutgers ends up turning it over. And then on the next play down for Indiana, Myles Rice got blocked, but Anthony Leal, hustling, gets the loose ball, throws up a prayer three and made it. And there were just so many elements in that play that we're defining elements for Indiana in this victory, making three-pointers, getting second chance points, getting a stop when you need it. And again, I thought the defense that Anthony Leal played on Ace Bailey there late in the first half was kind of the one stretch of the game where Bailey slowed down. That's where Indiana turned a 23-16 deficit into a 7-point halftime lead, and Rutgers would never get any closer than that. Excellent job by Anthony Leal with his minutes, especially there in the first half. All right, and our banner moment, as always, brought to you by our friends at Home Field Apparel, now in their 8th season sponsoring the Assembly Call and their 4th as the presenting sponsor for the Back Home Network. As you know, Home Field has the largest collection of vintage IU apparel that you will find anywhere. And since IU is their flagship school, you know that more high-quality gear with unique IU logos from the past is always right around the corner. They just recently, a few weeks ago, released the knit sweaters with the script Indiana University logo on them. I saw on Twitter today they released a bunch of new schools like Georgetown and DePaul and Xavier. Not new schools, but refreshes for those schools. There's always something going on. That's why you should follow them on Twitter, follow their text alerts, get the app, all that stuff, because it's not just IU. They have over 180 plus schools on their site. That's what makes Home Field the perfect one-stop shop for yourself or any gifts that you need to get for family or friends when birthdays come up throughout the year. Just always go to Home Field because they're great. Indiana company, well worth supporting. And you can use our promo code HOME23 and get 15% off your entire first order. That's promo code HOME23 for 15% off. Once again, the website homefieldapparel.com. Okay, now it's time to move the ball, find the open man, and get some opening thoughts from the rest of our team. And Andy, we will start with you. Your bottoms line on this Indiana victory.
May need to get a new promo code from Connor. The Home 23, as we're now in year of our Lord 2025. May need to think about that. Though I've so far beyond using the code that it doesn't really matter. In terms of the game, I thought it was. Rutgers was a one-man show with Bailey, and I thought there were times that IU did make it a little bit tougher on him, especially in the kind of the middle 20 minutes or so of the game. He didn't score a ton there, but was hot early and hot late. But IU was kind of the opposite of that. Really balanced effort. A lot of guys were able to contribute, especially as Malik Reneau went out. Other players needed to step up, and so you had 4 guys in double figures plus Luke Goode with 9, and Leal had 5, and I thought made some huge contributions as well. So I think a good balanced effort from IU. Bounced back in a number of ways. I think from a hustle perspective, you saw a lot more of those kinds of plays at times in the game today, even though there were still some defensive breakdowns and struggles there. Team bounced back, shot the three really well, 12 of 27 for the game, but struggled a bit from the line, although the final numbers look a little bit better than they did at different points. So, I thought one of the more complete efforts of the season for this team. Again, not without things you could nitpick, but I thought overall took care of business in a game that they needed to be able to win at home and try to build, try to keep building a little bit as you head into the Big Ten season. Tough game against Penn State coming up over the weekend. This was really one you needed to have, and they got it done. Really, kind of, once they built the lead back up in the second half, felt like they kept the game at arm's length for a little while, even though it did get back maybe to 6, I think, at one point. But I thought, just a good team effort, good balanced effort from a lot of guys, which always good to talk about a number of good contributors in the game.
Yeah, to your point, Andy, there are no must-win games in early January, but there are definitely some. You better get this one. This was certainly one of those, and so it's nice to see IU take care of business. Coach, it is Tonsoni time. What's on your mind after this IU victory?
Well, I just want to say Coach Moats couldn't make it tonight, so I invited these 3 guests on the show to fill in for Coach Moats. I hope everyone out there appreciates these guests and hope they have good things to say. I thought it was one of the more enjoyable games watching Indiana basketball play. There were a lot of things, the offensive rebounds, the number of assists, we'll get to those in the stats. I thought that shows a team that was a little more connected, a little more effort-driven. We talked, Coach Moats and I, about competing. I thought Indiana competed tonight. It wasn't always perfect, and you're going to watch film and watch this guy get driven or this bad shot, but they competed tonight, and that's what they're going to need in order to win these quad one games coming up. Today they took care of business against a team that was down a player, but Indiana matched that by losing their best scorer too. So it was a good win for the Hoosiers. I thought there were a lot of good things. I'm not sure it tells us a whole lot yet until you see this continue for 3 or 4 games, but this looked like a basketball team that came to compete tonight, and that's my main takeaway.
Ryan?
Yeah, I think the first thing I want to say is Ace Bailey is going to make a lot of money playing basketball in his life. I'm sure he's making a bit right now, but he is going to be an absolute star, and watching him play was so much fun tonight. I'm not trying to make that my lone takeaway from the game, but anytime you come into Assembly Hall and score 39 points and Indiana wins, I can talk about it. If he didn't, I'd want to bury my head in the sand. But from Indiana's perspective, I think that one thing we have to keep in mind is this is the game they should be playing against this team. And I'm glad they did. And I thought it was a different type of win for them than we've seen. And that as you guys have said, a lot of different people contributed, a lot of effort, a lot of the things that you've wanted to see from this team all along. But when you look at what's coming up after they play USC on Wednesday, everybody they play until March 1st is a top 50 team. So this is not something where it's like, this is a great effort, replicate this. It's a great effort, and you got to build on it. And that's the thing this team has had problems doing for the last decade. This program's had problems doing is like, yes, good performance. We're excited about it. Great job. We were going to talk about it. But the thing that needs to stop happening is the one step back that happens next. They need to, I know playing Penn State at the Palestra is going to be tough. Go prove you can win that game. Like, you can. Look at the talent on the floor. You can. And, I think the next couple of weeks are going to tell us what the season is. The next 2 weeks are going to tell us what the season's going to be, because they face a row of teams that are all good, whether they're, going to win a national championship or not. They're really good teams, and they're the kind of games that Indiana has struggles in. And so win this tonight, be excited. You were able to beat a Rutgers team that you have a Steve Peichel coach team, which has been a struggle for Indiana over the last few years to beat them. To beat them tonight, feel good about it. But they need to build on this. And I think it's gotten to the point, it's early January, we're in Big Ten season. It's time to start thinking about looking forward, and not just think about, when this team is eventually good. It's got to be good now, and it's got to start now. And so great job tonight by them to get the win and to play a better brand of basketball. They've got to continue to carry that forward, because now they're in the thick of it, and it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough from now on.
Yeah, and I think it's important to state, I'm sure there are going to be some people listening like, ooh, okay, we won at home against Rutgers. They didn't have their best player. that's not that huge of an achievement. And, the reality with this team right now is they've had 3 opportunities to get, kind of resume building wins against Louisville, Gonzaga, Nebraska, and they didn't come through in any of them and lost by double digits. There was nothing they could do in this game to change that. They've got the games coming up, Ryan, as you said, where they can do that. All they could do tonight was take care of business, avoid a bad loss, and, and try to build some cohesion. And I think, Coach, a lot of those things happened, it seems, just based on what we saw. But I want to go back to something that you said, which is that Indiana competed, because I thought that was noticeable from the start. I mean, there was a play within the first couple seconds, or not first couple minutes, where Myles Rice is on the floor, diving and getting a loose ball. You saw Oumar Ballo get on the floor several times, and I thought that is something that shouldn't be so noticeable and shouldn't stand out quite so much. But I thought you saw a lot of plays like that, even just competing a little bit more, with guys trying to guard their yard. I thought that did stand out tonight, some imperfect execution at times, but it did seem like a team that, took a step forward. And then to your point, Ryan, they can't now take steps back. But that, I think, is we talk about habits in games like these. I saw some things that if they can really build on it, those are things that are going to help you win tough games against better opponents moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there were some key players who led the charge and the others followed. And I think you have Rice and Leal and Goode at different points of the game did some things that were those competitive things in basketball that need to be done. And all of a sudden that's contagious. On the show they talked about shooting being contagious, but we've had people who have done those things, but then no one else followed them. Well, today everyone was open to following them and playing at that high competitive level. I use the word compete more than play hard, because everyone plays hard. You work up a sweat. You're out there exercising. You play hard for the most part. Some teams don't, but I don't think Indiana's not played hard. I just don't think they've competed for every rebound, competed to try to beat someone to a spot defensively. There's still some issues guarding the basketball and some of those things that really need to be fixed as the schedule gets tougher. But tonight against this team without Malik that we were playing, they got it done, and they got it done in an enjoyable way. And maybe some of that, it's a lot of talk in the chat too, and I agree with the chat. When you have one big, it opens up the lanes for Rice, and Galloway had some nice baseline drives, and even in the zone offense, you put a perimeter or a wing in the middle who can pop out and overload a side. I'll talk about that in meaningful moments. That might be the secret to this team playing a little bit better offensive basketball. But yeah, I think those 3 players tonight led the competitive effort, and then I thought others followed today, and that made the difference.
Andy, let's stick with that topic the coach just brought up, of Indiana obviously being forced to play with the one big, with Malik Reneau going out. At this point, we don't know, how severe the injury is. He was on the bench with ice on his knee in the second half.
Appears to be a knee.
Yeah. So, we'll have to see, what that impact is. But what did you see? I mean, just in terms of how it affected Indiana. I mean, certainly Oumar Ballo steps up, plays 32 minutes, really is outstanding, taking advantage of a favorable matchup. That was obviously huge. And then Myles Rice gets 21 points and certainly seemed more comfortable having more room to operate.
Yeah, I think we've seen that in spurts, and it's been such a talking point over the course of the season. And so I think there was a little bit more room to drive. You saw some even opportunities where like Goode would relocate when somebody got in the lane, and just some of those kind of kick out shots that you probably don't get in the same way because you're not even driving as deep into the lane. I thought some of it was just better movement off the ball as well, which you could argue had nothing to do with the other players that were in there, other than maybe there's a little bit more space to cut to, but felt like there were at least times when things were less stationary. You had some decent cuts down the baseline, and I thought at times they were maybe too unselfish. There was one where Goode had a nice cut, probably had a reverse layup, tried to kick it to somebody, and didn't get that. So I did think there was a little bit more room for him to operate. And I'm curious to get coach's thoughts on the zone offense. I thought particularly like the 1-4 stuff that they ran was really good when they started and were able to take advantage of some things that way. But yeah, I think, but all that looks a lot better when you're making threes as well. you played with one big on Sunday and were 1 of 20 from three. So, I think you can kind of shape whatever argument you want around that. But I do think they took advantage of the space. And quite honestly, like this is probably a whole nother discussion, but the look of Rutgers now as they brought in these guys and kind of, I won't even say change their philosophy, but, you bring in these two recruits and then like the identity that Steve Peichel had built defensively is just like out the window. And I understand the need to bring in the talent. And obviously Ace Bailey played better tonight than he probably has in any game the rest of the season. Not just because it was his career high, but also he was the only guy. But man, to watch a Rutgers team that would fight you for everything, just get its ass handed to it on the boards and give up wide open shot after wide open shot. And IU did a great job of taking advantage of that. And they exposed the weaknesses that Rutgers had. I don't mean that as a slight to IU by any stretch, but like pretty jarring to watch the shift in personnel and the way that Rutgers has done things this year, what that's done to the identity that they've had over the last few years. But again, that's probably a whole nother get off my lawn conversation about the changing landscape of college basketball that we don't need to delve into at 11:10 at night, but pretty wild, I would say.
Old man Bottoms getting angry once again. No, I think that the big difference for me wasn't the offense. It was the defense. I just felt like they were more balanced defensively, not having Malik have to guard out on the floor as much. And I think that that's where Indiana is at its best defensively, is when they can be quicker. And it's not great. I mean, Mackenzie Mbako still has a lot of issues defensively, and some of the guys don't move their feet particularly well, but you're more athletically balanced when you're doing that. And when you have a smaller guy at the four, and you can let Ballo just kind of be the goalkeeper at the rim and alter shots. I just think that's a better setup for them, and it's a better chance for them to do some things defensively, and that defense a lot of times can then lead to offense. But I agree with the spacing and stuff. It looked smoother. Everything just looked better tonight. It looked smoother. And that could just be guys playing better, or it could be solely the one big thing. I don't know. It could be a combination of the two. But I think that it's something that this coaching staff's going to have to look at moving forward. If they play better that way, you're going to have to rotate these guys in. I'm not saying you can never play two bigs, but it definitely can't be the dominant lineup if it looks like they play better without it.
Yeah. And the other thing, Coach, with the 3-point shooting is, you kind of look at the balance of the shots. You had the right guys taking them tonight. Goode took 5, and Mbako took 7. Trey Galloway took 6. Carlisle took 4, and probably a couple too many. But other than that, you have Rice taking 4, and ultimately Indiana goes 12 of 27.
Did you feel like? Did you feel like Carlisle's just trying to find a shot? Like he can't get it. He can't make right now, and so he's just going to take any chance he gets to put it up to try and get in a rhythm. That's how I feel watching him play.
Yeah, I think he's a scorer who's struggling to score, and has got a few less minutes. So, I mean, I understand. But I mean, you think back to that Nebraska game and some of the other games, and I just thought some of the shot selection, who was taking the shots tonight, Coach, was just smarter. Like everything just seemed a little smarter, a little crisper tonight, for whatever reason. And, that helps give you a double-digit win.
Yeah, and it's tied to the one big, and it's not necessarily one big, it's just where the bigs can score from. Both of our bigs have to score at the basket to be their most efficient. Yes, Reneau can hit a set shot 3, but he doesn't move fluently. You see other teams that play, a 7-footer and a 6'9" or 6'10" guy, 2 bigs, but both bigs can pick and pop. Illinois is up on Oregon right now, and their center is 7 foot and can shoot 3s. So it's all about spacing. And the reason it looks smooth and you got a wide variety of shot attempts tonight was because the floor was open up. And you even then do a good job of bringing Ballo up to set some ball screens. You bring Ballo up to throw, and you have a little X action at the top. There's a lot of things you can do when they actually leave that baseline open a little bit. It worked in the zone, too. Ballo was screening the top guards in the 2-3 or the 3-2 that was being played, and it created a 2-on-1 advantage on the weak side. And that's when you have players who can space the floor. Sometimes we get caught up in verbiage about bigs. But Indiana's two bigs are two people who are block scorers and are most efficient at the block. And so you don't have to guard them out there when they go out there, and that's why it was more efficient today. I think Carlisle is a volume shooter, and he knows nothing. He comes from a place where he got a lot of shots up. When he's in a game, he's going to be hunting shots. That needs to be cleaned up. Like he was the only one tonight who hurt Indiana, I think, with shot selection. There were a few others that may be questionable. Mbako missed one running hook over two, but we got the rebound and scored. Those take care of itself. But really, Carlisle's best asset to this team is defense and hustle. But he's taken some bad shots that, again, tonight against this team, it didn't hurt, but it could. And his role has to be better defined, in my opinion, to get in and wait for shots. And it's hard when you come off the bench like that, and you were the lead guy last year, getting up volumes of shots. But it's all the spacing. Tonight the spacing was nice, and you saw the benefits of it in many ways.
Yeah, Carlisle and Tucker combined 1 for 11 tonight from the field. So I think that was still better than the Nebraska game, but still a lot of room for improvement there, obviously, with those guys.
And the spacing helps Ballo, too. Like, Ballo was getting rebounds. There's no one there to help clog his action up either.
And offensively, there's more room for him to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everything. Spacing in basketball impacts impacts things at every single level, and not just offensively. And so I think that's why we harp on it so much, as you see the space he had to work with, and also that if a double comes there, they have to recover that much further to their man if the guy isn't also close to the lane, and so it works. It tires the defense out. It works them more. It allows you to move the ball and actually have an impact when you're moving the ball, instead of guys already being in the same place when you move the ball and just, shifting their attention. So it's everything. It impacts everything. And I think that's why it's so important. I think that's where the frustration has been at some points with the offense.
Yeah. And it's not, Andy, I think anybody saying like this team is better without Malik Reneau, because you saw some of the issues when Oumar Ballo went out. I mean, Langdon Hatton, for as good as he has been in a couple of other games, tonight he wasn't able to really get anything done against a little more size, a little more athleticism in Rutgers. And, so there's certainly a role for both of these bigs to play. But and so again, we'll have to see, how long, if at all, Malik is going to be out. I think tonight you kind of see, hey, here's what this can look like when you just have one of them out there. Obviously, we saw last game, when it was just Malik out there. So you're going to need both of these guys. I don't think you want Oumar Ballo playing 32 minutes a night. That worked tonight. That may not be a recipe for success for the whole season. But hopefully, I guess some lessons can be taken about, maybe how this works best, and staggering them and trying to get, some more opportunities for Indiana to play like they did tonight.
Yeah, I think the other thing, we talked a little about the defense. I think I'm not sure what you do matchup wise if you were going to play the two of them, like who then is guarding Ace Bailey and kind of what had become IU's. And I know that they didn't start both of them tonight anyway, but I don't know how you could have done that anyway. You certainly couldn't have put Mbako on Bailey. You couldn't have put Reneau on him. I'm not really sure what you would have been able to do. And obviously that's a unique situation with a guy that size and that talented. But it'll be interesting to see. I think, we've seen some of that. I think we've tracked it at different times over the course of the season. Does ebb and flow a little bit, but I think defensively is, as you guys said, Ball is the better rim protector of the two, and I thought he worked out where he struggled in some cases with the drop coverage in the first half. I thought he did a better job of that as the game went on, and was able to still kind of be in the right spot more often than not to protect the rim, and did a good job rebounding on that end of the floor, and could have had an even better game if he'd hit free throws at the clip he'd been hitting them more recently. So I think it definitely going to be some matchups where you might be able to get by with playing them both in the Big Ten, but you've also got other teams that play more like Illinois does that coaches said, where that's going to be a little bit tougher to do. So maybe a game-by-game matchup type thing, and however you think you can dictate, make the other team change to what you want to do, or do you adjust to what they want to do. But I think that'll be, especially as the Big Ten gets a little bit bigger, you've got some different coaches and styles in it this year. I think, it'll be interesting to see how they navigate that situation, assuming that Malik is back pretty soon, which hopefully he is.
Yep. All right, make sure you go to assemblycall.com, subscribe to our free email newsletter, send out a weekly newsletter, 6-banner Sunday, that keeps you updated on everything going on in Indiana sports. And coming up here in this edition of the Assembly Call, we are going to continue our breakdown of Indiana's 84-74 victory over Rutgers, and then go inside the numbers to highlight the most game.
Hi, this is AJ Moye. What's the only thing better than upsetting Duke in the Sweet 16? Celebrating it with friends afterwards. Join Jared, Andy, Ryan, and Coach for the Assembly Call after every IU basketball game. Go Hoosiers.
All righty. Thank you, AJ. You are listening to the Assembly Call IU postgame show. I'm Jared Morris here with the coach Brian Tonsoni, Ryan Phillips, and Andy Bottoms, breaking down Indiana's 10-point victory over Rutgers, and it's time now for tonight's meaningful moments that you might have missed.
Moments that you might have missed.
This segment brought to you by our friends at Hoosier Ticket Project, where they help individuals and families experience IU athletic events in person for the first time through the generosity of alumni and fans. To learn more about how you can donate money or extra tickets to help create meaningful moments for other IU fans, visit HoosierTicketProject.org. That's HoosierTicketProject.org. Okay, first meaningful moment that I had is in the second half. Indiana led by 16 at one point. Steve Pikiell took a timeout, tore into his guys. Rutgers really responded. Ace Bailey went on one of his crazy shot-making runs. And Rutgers actually had it at 59-52 with a little bit of momentum. And Myles Rice stepped up, found some space in the corner, drained a three to make it 62-52, pushed it back up to double digits, and really felt like an important shot in the moment to stop that Rutgers momentum. 2 possessions later, got the ball on the left wing, little subtle fake, kind of set up Luke Goode's man, gave him a little bit of extra space. He hit Goode in the corner for a 3, ended up putting Indiana up 13. And like I said, I just thought all night there were little moments of Myles Rice hustling, playing hard, being tough, that really helped set the tone for Indiana. But those couple of moments, big shot, big assist, when Indiana really needed it there in the second half, stood up to me. Coach, what moment stood out to you?
Yeah, Indiana runs that tip play almost every game where they back screen the man jumping center, and they get baskets quite frequently.
It's crazy how often it works for doing it every single game.
And that's
insane.
That's on
that should work
Pikiell, right?
That should work once.
That's on Pikiell and everyone else. It. Stick someone back there underneath or at the free throw line to chuck him when he comes through. But Indiana runs it almost every game. When they win the tap, if it's Reneau or Ballo, whoever's jumping the ball, he'll just run towards the rim and they'll set a back screen, and Indiana gets off to a quick 2-0 start. It's a subtle thing, but if you're ever in a ball game and you got these big, top 50 games coming up, and you can steal a basket here or there, we've always talked about Woodson being good coming out of timeouts. That's something there where that's good. The other thing was the zone offense. I've just been happy with the zone offense all year. I haven't been happy with the other offense for most of the year, but I do think that Indiana has a good handle when teams play zone. The 1-4 high works where they hit the elbow and they dive a guy in. Hubie Brown was big on that in the pros. The 1-4 high, I like that. But they ran a little 4 out with the guards because they only had one big. And Galloway would start at the high post, and then as the ball got swung, he would leak out to a corner, and then someone else would replace in the high post, and that opened up the baseline. And Gallo was able to get the ball and drive the baseline. And then if that didn't work, then they would bring up Ballo to ball screen or to flare screen one of the top guards in the 3-2 or 2-3, whatever they decided to play. Pikiell was trying to mix up defenses today. I thought he had to hope that Indiana would, suffer from man, then zone, then a little bit of pressure, hopefully slow Indiana down without Harper. And it worked initially for the first maybe 12 minutes when there was a 7-point lead for Rutgers, but then Indiana got into a roll. No matter what they were playing, man, they were ready to do their things and zone. But I thought the zone offense is really good. The ball moves, it gets in the middle, it gets into key spots, and they force people to play 2-on-1. And that's the thing that I would tell everyone to watch. If people are playing zone, whether it's Indiana playing or someone else, the good teams either screen the center, screen the forward, do something in order to get the ball in a situation where one defender has to guess, do I take this guy or do I take the corner guy? And it usually results in a wide open shot. I know Goode got one in that situation. That's just good basketball, and it was good to see the ball move and people move with a purpose in zone offense tonight.
Yeah. A couple other moments that stood out. Mackenzie Mbako didn't have a great shooting night, only 5 of 13, did go 3 of 7 from three-point range. I thought he had a couple of incredible shot fakes tonight where he really created some space for himself. Those were, nice to see, little dribble to the side, just got himself a better look than what he would have gotten otherwise. Andy, any moments that stood out to you?
Yeah, just real quick to build on your Rice one. He had that rebound where he kind of came from out of nowhere in the first half and got a put back that way. I thought that was just another, kind of hustle type play from him. And to Coach's point about the zone offense, I thought Leal made some really good reads out of that where they would drop one of the guys to the short corner, and he was able to get guys some shots that way. Ballo had a nice flare screen for, I think it was Galloway that hit one late off of that. So I would definitely second what he talked about with the zone offense. And the other was a couple other things that I had down here that I've totally lost track of at this point. One, I guess the other was about Leal. I thought, you're not going to get on here and talk about great defense the guys played on a guy who scored 39 points, but I really thought Leal was like decisive in trying to make Bailey go to his left, sat hard on his right hand, and eventually he got back that way a couple times, but he kind of walled up as much as he could and was able to, force him to, pass the ball at other times. And I just thought moved his feet well, had a clear plan of what he wanted to do against a guy like that and executed it about as well as he was able to. Bailey hit some tough shots on him. Bailey hit some, drove Luke Goode some, hit some shots, right on him. But Leal was at least into Bailey enough that he felt compelled to do the too small celebration on him for him, which, is always fun to do when your team is losing by 10 points. But, I just thought he did a really good job of trying to at least having a clear plan, trying to force him into, to a certain direction where, presumably that was where the help was, but it wasn't. I don't know. I just thought he executed what he was trying to do as well as he possibly could have. I thought he moved his feet well, really got into him, didn't back down from the challenge. And you talked about that play at the beginning where he was kind of rewarded by that. But I just think so many, simple, smart plays that he made, whether it was, I think he had 4 assists in the first half, just being unselfish, trying to find guys. The one shot Carlisle hit was off Leal makes a great cut, kicks the ball out to him for a 3. Just doing a lot of little things defensively. He drew an offensive foul in the second half on a moving screen call where it was just because he's fighting hard through a guy that he knew wasn't set and basically just forced the guy to blow the whistle. Just lots of little stuff like that from him. I thought he was really enjoyable to watch. I thought Goode a little bit of the same. He got called for some fouls on some of those kinds of hustle plays, but I thought, again, if you look at offensive rebounding and how important that was to the game, Goode being able to get some of those offensive rebounds, got one early off a missed free throw and a kick out to Galloway for 3. Just thought those guys made lots of little winning plays that really go and would fall under the competing, as Coach said earlier, for everything. I thought there was just countless moments that those guys had related to that.
No, I'm with you, man. I kind of felt silly talking about Leal in the banner moment for defense. The guy that he was guarding scored 39 points. But honestly, I think Bailey could have had 50 tonight. But that stretch in the first half with Leal guarding him, it really kind of slowed him down. And it got Rutgers off kilter, and that's where Indiana built their lead that they didn't give up.
Yeah, I think it was about the middle 10 minutes of the game. I might have missed this a little bit, but for the last 10 minutes of the half, he only had 3 points. He got that offensive rebound put back and got fouled for an and one, and he had a drive early in the second half, and at least at about the 11-minute mark of the second half, he'd scored 5 points in almost 20 minutes of game action. Now, Leal wasn't guarding him that whole time. Goode was guarding him to start the second half. And then he got super hot again at the end, hit those couple threes where they ran the same play for him twice in the corner and makes 2 threes falling out of bounds. And, it is what it is at that point. But I did really think like he made it hard on him. And for a guy who had all the talent advantage, he didn't let him get by him. They forced him to take tough 2-point shots. And I remember hearing scouting reports about Bailey is like, he'll take some bad shots. He can make tough shots, make quote unquote bad shots, but jump shooting is, hit and miss with him. And they made him take long twos. And I thought while he made tough shots, in a lot of cases, they didn't let him get going to the basket other than a couple plays at the very beginning, and made him take some long twos and tough twos. And he made him, but you'd rather him take those shots than drive a guy that he's got 6 inches on and take him to the basket.
But only 3 of 8 from the line. So was it really that good, Ryan?
Yeah, I think we got to stay with Anthony Leal for a minute. I agree. I thought he played Bailey as well as he possibly could have, quite frankly. And the thing that he did was he forced him to shoot over him. Now, Bailey's a shot maker, so that may be the wrong decision, quite frankly, but it's textbook defense. And you keep your feet moving and don't let him turn a corner. Don't let him get by you. And that's what Leal did. And from a technical defense perspective, he did exactly what you're supposed to do. And then you look at his
if guys are hitting
tonight,
fall away long twos against you,
it's not your problem. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not your fault. You can be frustrated all you want, but it's not your fault. But 5 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, no turnovers in 18 minutes as well. I mean, the team didn't really turn the ball over tonight very much either, but Leal, none of them. And he had the ball in his hands. He made smart plays. There was one time he drove in and Robbie Hummel kind of admonished him for not going up with it. And he turned and kicked it out for a 3. And, he knows he's not going to score over a 6'8" guy in there, or it's very unlikely that he is, at least not, in a, not in a normal situation. If he's got the guy on his heels, maybe. But so I just think that Leal adds something that this team sometimes doesn't have. I thought they had to compete tonight, but sometimes they don't, but he always brings that. And I think that in games, if they're struggling to do that, he needs to be the sub. He needs to be the guy to come in. Sometimes we've said that about Galloway. It's like, if they need energy, put Galloway in the game. But I think that he's a guy who's a senior, who's been here for a long time, who, when he has been put on the floor, he has physical limitations, he has skill limitations, but there are things that he does that you need your team to do. And if this team is struggling, he's the guy they should turn to in a lot of these situations. Even if he can't match up physically, put him out there and see if it changes the attitude or the way that the team is playing. I think that needs to be a focus for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Around with that defense, but I also think Leal's passing. I've said it for years. I think Leal is one of the best passers, and he has vision of the whole court. That's something that I think Myles Rice needs to develop, the vision of the whole court. He has a vision when he wants to kick the ball ahead. I think he has really good vision in transition, but sometimes in the half court, that's the only area that I'm disappointed in Myles Rice. I thought he was fantastic tonight, and I'm sure we'll talk about him later in the show. But Leal understands where people are going to be, and he understands how to get them the basketball. And then he just competes. Like, he's not fast enough to guard Ace Bailey, but he's going to make him take an extra dribble. He's going to annoy him a little bit. And that's what you have to do when you're outmatched, is compete. And that is, what Anthony Leal brings to the club. And some days he'll have it, and he has it. I mean, I think he has it all the time too, but in some games it matters more. And I thought tonight it really mattered at the key moment, when Bailey was just going off to slow him down some, and that was very, very a key part of the victory tonight.
All right, it is time now to go inside the numbers, brought to you by Jackson Hewitt Tax Services. If you live in Bloomington or the surrounding areas and you want your taxes done right, contact our friend and Chat Mob Hall of Famer, Megan Mahaffey, and her team in Bloomington, Bedford, and Martinsville by calling 812-339-3334 or by visiting jacksonhewitt.com. Andy, I think the two stats that really jump out, we talked about the 3-point shooting, but the other two stats that really jump out are Indiana gets 18 offensive rebounds and only turns the ball over 8 times. And
the offensive rebounds were absurd. It just got ridiculous at some point.
Look, this is the formula for shot volume, right? Get more opportunities than your opponent by getting the offensive rebounds and then by not giving it away with turnovers. And we've seen this team struggle at times with silly turnovers. They really, cleaned those up tonight. And obviously the offensive rebounds led by Oumar Ballo, 7. I don't know what Indiana ended up taking. Good Lord, 72 field goal attempts to 61 for Rutgers. And that's a big part of it is the second chances and not turning the ball over.
I would have never guessed they shot 38.9% from the field tonight. I thought it was way higher, but it's because they got those second chance opportunities and put them back and took advantage of them. So, yeah, that shocked me. That was the first thing that stood out to me.
Andy, what number stood out to you?
Yeah, I think as you said, those are the big ones. I mean, IU actually on 2-point shooting was worse than they were on 3-point shooting, which is not often the formula. And I think that the turnovers that you mentioned, I think first half assisted turnover was 10-1. That evened up a little bit in the second half, just 6 assists to 7 turnovers. Although, given all the free throws and things like that at the end, a little bit hard to get it much rhythm as the game went on. Bench points. Part of that is Ballo coming off the bench, 25-18 is a big one for IU. In that regard. But yeah, I think the biggest ones were the 3-point shooting, the second chance points, and bench points to a lesser extent, I think just because they were forced to get more bench points with Reneau going down in the first 30 seconds of the game. And this was a game where IU scored a lot of points but didn't have a lot of fast break points. Typically, that was 7-6. That was pretty even. And typically in games where IU's really put up a bunch of points this year, it's because they've been able to get easy ones and get out and run. The easy ones in this game were more second chance points than they were transition based.
Coach, what numbers tickled your fancy?
I'm a big believer in metrics. I think that's a good way to measure a basketball team, but it doesn't tell the truth all the time. Rutgers scored at 1.014 offensive efficiency, but they had to work for it tonight. And Ace Bailey hitting some shots while being defended well builds that up a little bit. And while I am still concerned about Indiana's inability to stop the drive, I think it happens way too much, and they leave people open sometimes, and ball watching has been a consistent issue for this team, and it still was there at times tonight. I thought, again, I'll go back to my word of the evening, I thought they competed a lot more on the defensive end, making Rutgers, the team that Rutgers put out there, take some really, really tough shots, and that's a building block. If that can continue, going back to what Ryan said at the beginning of the show, it was good enough for tonight's game. It needs to be good enough on Sunday in the Palestra, too, and a step up. And then it needs to be better coming back in Assembly Hall against USC, because there's still some foundational question marks that I have defensively. But tonight, I thought they really made Rutgers earn that. And so in a number that is right a little bit above average, you want to keep teams below 1.0, and really Indiana needs to build those metrics in order to help their case come tournament time. That Indiana's defensive effort isn't reflected in that number, in my opinion.
Yeah. Any other numbers, fellas? Ryan, any other numbers for you?
No, I mean, I think that just kind of looking at it, you didn't have a lot of blocks or steals tonight. It was kind of a game that was just based on the shots and shot making, and that went both ways. And so I don't think that anybody would call IU a shot-making team, but the fact that they outdid Rutgers both in the paint, they outscored Rutgers both in the paint and at the three-point line tonight, I think is just something that we don't see very often from Indiana, and it was nice to see tonight, I think. It was close in the paint, but they did win that, and then they, making 12 threes is another thing to focus on. I think that they've been hot and cold when it comes to shooting, but when they're making them, this is a completely different team. It's a completely different team.
Yep. Okay, coming up on the assembly call, we are going to hand out our Game Balls and Hoosier Hustle Award, discuss a lingering question or two, and then look ahead to what's coming on Sunday in the Palestra against Penn State. That is next here on the assembly call. Stick with us.
This is Tim Priller, and I never miss an episode of the Assembly Call.
All right. Thanks, Tim. You are listening to the Assembly Call IU Postgame Show. I'm Jared Morris here with the coach, here with Ryan, here with Andy. And we are breaking down Indiana's 10-point victory over Rutgers in its segment 3. So it is time now for our game balls, presented by our friends Allie and James at Bloom Environmental. And they want to help you protect your home's air quality. And the best way to do that is to stop water at the source. Voted Best of B-Town in basement services for 4 years running, their basement waterproofing and crawl space encapsulation is the best defense your home can have against mold growth and structural damage. Mention Assembly Call and get 10% off your system. Call today for a free estimate. You can learn more at bloomenviro.com. That is bloomenviro.com. Okay, game balls. Coach, let's go to you first. Who gets your game ball tonight?
Myles Rice tonight, and I thought he obviously, I think, led us in scoring right with 21 points, 8 for 8 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 assists to 1 turnover, 2 steals in 36 minutes of play. I thought that key segment, and this goes back to Coach Knight a lot too, the first 5 minutes of the second half are key. I thought he dominated defensively and with his effort and his energy in that first 5 minutes. And Indiana goes capitalizes on the 3-point bank shot from Leal, the 7-point lead, and then extends it up to 12-13. And really, they hung on from there and did some good things. But I really thought Rice was a pest tonight. I mean, he was deflecting the ball. He was getting steals. He was diving on the floor. He was driving the basketball. He hit a key 3 that you mentioned to bring it to a 10-point lead after there's some crazy stuff happening in the second half. I just think he's played 2 really outstanding games when Indiana hasn't had the 2 bigs, because I think that's what he was used to in the previous season where he played and the ball is in his hands. Do I want him to have more assists? Yes, I want him to see that half court like he sees the full court. But, boy, that's nitpicking, really, for a young man that I thought as dominant. And I know I get ribbed about saying it all the time, but college basketball is a guard's game, and we have an outstanding guard in Myles Rice. You got to turn him loose, and you got to believe in him and let him be the guy. Yes, we have talent all the way through, but Myles Rice stirs the cocktail of Indiana basketball defensively and offensively, and I thought he was the best out of several good performances tonight by Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah, I would not argue with anybody who went with Myles Rice. Ryan, I'm going to give mine to Oumar Ballo for playing 32 minutes and being the most dominant presence on the court. And the reason I'm going to give it to him is, I don't know how much he expected to play this evening. I'm not exactly sure what the plan was. I know Mike Woodson said before the game that, he had the quad issue that came up, pretty early, or pretty close to the Winthrop game. So I'm not sure how much, he was dealing with that. I'm sure he wasn't expecting to play 32 minutes. But to come out and play with the effort and energy, he can dominate and score points and do all that stuff. But I thought getting on the floor, showing some emotion, playing to the crowd a little bit, like he really seemed more into this game than we've seen from him, almost, and so I really liked kind of that energy and focus. And 17 points, 12 boards, 3 blocks. I mean, he's probably the most. I mean, you can maybe make this argument for Myles Rice. I still think he's the most indispensable player on the roster because he's the only guy who protects the rim. And I thought that really made a big impact. And so it was nice to see him play the minutes he played and do so much with them. So wanted to give it to him. So now we've got 1 vote for each. And now you and Andy can either break the tie or I guess continue it if you want to. Over to you.
Yeah, I went with Oumar Ballo as well. 17 points, 12 rebounds, plus 21. Although we were discussing in our personal chat, the plus 21 was the plus minus was completely out of whack tonight. Does not equate to reality, so we'll pass on that. But the 7 offensive rebounds, I think that's where Indiana won the game, was on the offensive glass, and so he was a big part of that. So I'm going to give it to him as well. I hope he is happy with this victory. I hope he goes out and celebrates. Just calm down, Oumar. Just calm down, rein it in.
Just going to lay out on Ryan for that one. Andy, you get your game.
Well, I'm gonna tie it back up because I'm gonna go with Rice. I thought he came out, set the tone early. There was that jump ball that they had where the other guy tried to kind of throw him to the ground, and I think probably did more damage to himself than he did to Rice as he threw him down. But I thought he was just really competing again. To go back to what Coach said, I think he could have had a couple more assists. Had the one nice steal and kind of that hook pass into Galloway where he missed the layup. at one point. Had another really nice diagonal pass ahead to Galloway where the defender went and hit it off his leg. And there was another play where Rice just went and chased a guy down. Seemed like a potential breakaway, but really just forced him to take a tough layup in transition that they ended up missing when it seemed like Rutgers was getting a run out. So I just thought he really set the tone from the very beginning and carried that all the way through. Only turned the ball over once. 8 of 8 from the free throw line. Really, hit a couple stretches, particularly down the stretches they were fouling. But there was another one just before he hit that 3-pointer that you talked about, Jared, that he drove in, got fouled, and made 2 free throws. I just thought he made key plays. Those were the 2 that I was down to. But yeah, it was Rice for me.
All right. Well, it looks like the chat mob is going to have to break the tie. So get your votes in starting now, and then Eddie, if you can count them up, or if you want to go count them up from before, let's see who wins this. But now let's do our Hoosier Hustle Award.
Hi, this is Anthony Leal, reminding you to check out our friends at Evansville Security Services. Based in the hometown of IU legend Calvert Chaney, Evansville Security Services has been providing off-duty police officers to businesses and individuals since 2001. In other words, they're in the business of prevention and peace of mind. And remember, prevention cannot be measured. To learn more about how Evansville Security Services can help you preserve your peace of mind by preventing bad outcomes, visit evansvillesecurityservices.com. That's evansvillesecurityservices.com.
Okay, Ryan, it looks like the chat mob is wrong. They have gone with Rice instead of making the correct choice of Ballo for the game ball, but that's okay.
And this is just more evidence that democracy doesn't work. We need to do away with the system completely.
Ryan's being stupid again.
Okay,
Jared, you can't side with Ryan and then be surprised when the majority of other people think that that's the incorrect side to be on. But otherwise,
I know.
I mean, my friend Mr.
compelling
Bottoms makes a
argument.
fair point. Yeah, my friend Mr. Bottoms makes a fair point there.
That's absolutely correct. Everyone in the chat was talking about Ballo until Ryan said Ballo, and then they all switched. Like, if you're going to cover the NFL for the whole first 2 months of the Indiana basketball schedule and not be on Sunday afternoons and everything, the chat mob knows.
Yeah, and it's fair. It's a fair point. I'm awful. Let's be real. You can clip
man, that one hurts. Ufda says we just side with the main hosts of the show, which I guess is
thank
a
you,
shot at
Ufda,
us, Ryan, for not being here very much. So
fair.
We have to accept that. Okay, Hustle Award, Coach. Who gets your Hustle Award?
I got to go Anthony Leal. I just think he really set the tone today with his defense, his passing. I just think that was important. I almost wanted to go with Goode for protecting the TV camera. When Malik was hurt, he was getting in the way of the TV camera. I mean, Goode does so many things that you want good teammates to do, but that was just one hustle move there. But I think Leal pretty easily gets it tonight for what he brought.
Andy?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Leal as well. Producer Eddie put a couple things from Leal in the chat. I think sum this up well. Said his goals defensively against Ace Bailey were to try to take away space. Definitely got up into him. Get physical. Definitely did that and force him to his left hand, which he did his best to do. So again, kind of like I said, he at least clearly had a plan of how he wanted to approach it, and I thought put every bit of his effort into being able to do that. And again, just talked about after the buzzer beater, what was his focus going into halftime. He said, "I'm never focused on my own success or my own stats." I would say that checks out based on what you see from him. So I thought, yeah, it was him and Goode for me. I think you could make an argument based on some of the hustle plays that Rice and Ballo made if you wanted to give it to one of them. But I had Leal in mind at the beginning, and so I'll stick with that.
And Leal's already out tweeting about the Leal deal, so he's still hustling, always hustling.
Absolutely,
Anthony Leal. Ryan, who gets your Hustle Award?
It's Leal 100%. I thought, I mean, when we were coming on, like Andy said, when we were logging in, I already knew. It's not like I had to look at more stats or anything like that. He got it tonight, and I think he should. And I've said he should play more. And I think that he should be somebody that's a regular part of the rotation, getting about as many minutes as he did tonight because of what he adds to the team and what he adds to the program. So good job, Anthony.
Mike Woodson's teams have been more successful when Anthony Leal has gotten, 18 to 24 minutes a game. Look, what's nice, I'm not going to argue with Leal. He got the banner moment for his hustle, so I agree with that. What's nice, though, is you could make arguments for a lot of guys. You could argue for Rice. You could argue for Ballo. You could argue for Goode. I mean, you could
probably argue for 5 guys tonight, and that's the first time.
That's how you win basketball games.
Yeah,
first time being able to see that. This one guy hustled, and we'll give it to him because he dove on the floor once, which it feels like we've done on some of these shows. Like there was hustle, there was compete tonight. To use Coach's word from earlier.
I mean, we gave it to didn't we give it to Luke Goode once for yelling at his teammates in a huddle?
Yes.
Like, I mean, it's been that bad.
That was the Nebraska game. Yes. Also, Ryan, maybe we should give a little honorable mention to Trace Jackson Davis for stuffing it in Joel Embiid's face tonight in the Warriors Philly game. That was nice. That was nice. Very nice. Okay. Lingering question. We're going to talk Penn State here in a second. Coach, my lingering question to you as we sit here on January 2nd, kind of set the stage for us, because Indiana's 11-3. Like, the volume of wins is nice. But I think, as we know, there's no signature win yet, which I think makes it hard for people to kind of assess, like, where is this team when it comes to the NCAA tournament? We know the metrics are a little bit, lower than they should be in the 50s. And so, like, can you give us an accurate picture of where we are right now when it comes to the tournament and kind of what work needs to be done here in Big Ten play?
I would defer to my mentor, Andy, on this one. He's the one who helped teach me what.
I was going to kick it to Andy for the Penn State preview, but you're right. I mean, Andy is the godfather.
And Andy is. And I thank him for all that. I had a nice conversation with Alex Bosich on Inside the Hall recently about, all of the tournament stuff and quad wins and all of that. Indiana is in position, but they have to win a lot of games. They have to, and a lot of these games are on the road. They have 13 quad one opportunities. I think they need to get at least 6 or 7 of those to be in discussion for the tournament, not just a good seed, because their lack of non-conference. And then down the stretch here, since the Bahamas, some really metric draining results. I have them in the 50s and 60s in different metrics, the net and Torvik and all of that. So tonight it wasn't a must win, but you guys said it, you got to get it because it's a quad 3 at the moment. The first quad 1 opportunity is Sunday at the Palestra, and you win that, and it's a bonus on the road. And I think you have 5 home quad 1. Purdue is a quad 2 at home. Penn State is a quad 2 at home, and all those numbers can change. Those random cutoffs, but you have some opportunities down the line, but they're also tough. Like, the Big Ten is a lot better than I think people thought it would be. And in our current projection, we have 10 teams in the tournament, and Northwestern's had 2 tough losses. They're out. Indiana is out of the tournament. Iowa is just on the precipice of getting in. I used a big word. And so you gotta beat a lot of those teams, not just to beat them to get that spot, but you gotta win some games. I think you got to win 12, be 12-8 or better in the Big Ten to get in the, like at least 8, 9, 10, 11 discussion. So this game was a good result, and it helped with a lot of things that Indiana struggled with on the court. But you've got to stack stuff now. You can't go good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, because you'll find yourself on the outside with a few nice wins. But everyone, if you're playing an SEC, Jared, every game's a quad 1, so there's going to be a lot more opportunities for all these teams with these mega conferences now and really doing well in the non-conference. It's going to be interesting. Last year, the magic number was 6. You had 6 quad 1, you kind of found your way in the tournament. I think that number is going to be even higher this year, and so that's a lot of work. And if Indiana can build on tonight, then it's all in front of them if they want it.
The SEC is a basketball conference now. That has certainly been confirmed over the last.
Well, I actually the newest bracket,
one sport has definitely been
all of them
from that. So, yeah.
Hypothetically, I dropped them all out of my next NCAA bracket because I'm just sick and tired of all the SEC talk. So if you see some internet trashing of Delphi brackets from the South, you'll understand maybe why.
Well, guys, I can't blame the SEC teams in football. It's the committee's fault. They never should have been there in the first place. So, I mean, it's just, you can't blame the teams, can't blame the conference. You got to blame those guys in that room making those calls and, not respecting losses.
Yep. So the other lingering question, obviously, is Malik Reneau's injury. We don't know anything about that yet, so we'll just have to wait and see how he is. Andy, tell us a little bit about what's coming up with Penn State. They're a team I think that has played better than was expected of them coming into the season. They're currently 37th in KenPom. Indiana bumped up one spot to 56th. KenPom has a 5-point. Penn State is a 5-point favorite. Playing at the Palestra. I think we all remember we were there last year for the Penn State game when Ace Baldwin just basically toyed with Indiana for 40 minutes, and they
I forget
ate
it
lunch.
every morning when I wake up.
It was ugly. And Ace Baldwin is back. What else does Penn State have, and how do you kind of see this matchup between the two teams?
Yeah, they've been relatively impressive. 12-2. Losses on a neutral court to Clemson and on the road against Rutgers by 4. And their best wins so far, Purdue and Northwestern, who they beat at home tonight. So not a ton of huge wins, I wouldn't say. I think as you look at the matchup statistically, well, personnel-wise, it's, talked about how well Myles Rice played. What's he need to do with, to handle the pressure of Ace Bailey, taking care of the basketball, defending without fouling, different things like that. So certainly a different size challenge for IU than what Ace Bailey provided tonight. But I think that's the big individual matchup. He's obviously the straw that stirs the drink for them. But if you look, Penn State is actually ranked higher in offensive efficiency than defensive, which I think is probably not what people would have expected. That they're pretty impressive across the board in all 4 factors. They're in the top 100. Do a good job of getting to the free throw line. I think that'll be important for IU to be able to defend without fouling. Have shot it well, particularly well from 2-point range, but also in the top 100 from 3-point range. So, yeah, I think they posed some different challenges. I think what they did last year in terms of how they would spread IU out, try to get the matchup they wanted, let Bailey do his thing and be able to try to find shooters or guys cut into the basket. So we'll be interested to see what IU can try to do defensively that might slow them down. And then the other side, it's pretty much turnovers. They're 50th overall in defensive efficiency, 8th in forcing turnover rate defensively. That starts with Baldwin, but we've seen IU snowball when they can't take care of the basketball over the course of this season and in seasons past. And so that to me will dictate as much as anything what IU's going to be able to do in this game is how well they can take care of the ball. I think Penn State's going to score. I don't think IU's shown enough defensively to make you feel like they're going to be able to really shut their water off on that end. But if IU's not able to get shots and they're just turning the ball over left and right, it could be a long afternoon. But should be an exciting game. And I think Bob is heading out to go to the game with Mike. I had potentially looked at the same thing because the Eagles have a home game that day too, but they coincide with the same time of the game. So had they been staggered, I would have considered making the trip as well. So cool. Will be cool to see him in that venue. And as coach said, one of at least as of today's team sheet, 13 quad 1 opportunities remaining. Tonight's game was a quad 1. Or a quad 3 rather. The only other quad 3 game is against USC in about a week, and so this really was a kind of can't lose game more than anything else. IU took care of business, and now they get their first of what should be many opportunities to get a more impressive road win. This will count as a true road game, not a neutral court game for anybody who cares in that regard. But yeah. First of many chances to be able to do some damage and starts to get some more things in the positive end of the team sheet as you look at it.
Ace Baldwin drawing 6.1 fouls for 40 minutes. He's taking 89 free throws. He's shooting 94.4% from the line. So
yeah, I saw a tweet tonight where they said he had 15 or he had 17 points and only made like 1 field goal or something like that. And whoever had retweeted it said, basically stop praising this or something like that because of all the fouls. But Big Ten officials love to call fouls, although they swallowed the whistle a couple times toward the end of that game. It seemed like that worked in Penn State's favor for what it's worth.
Yeah, he's terrific, man. One of my favorite non-Hoosiers to watch. Reminds me somewhat of Jamal Shedd. Not quite the same physical defender, but just a point guard who the clear leader of the team, sets the tone. You're not a great shooter from the outside. That's probably his one Achilles heel, but just a great on-court leader for a college basketball team. And now Myles Rice needs to go beat him because I think Myles Rice can be, has shown flashes of being the same kind of guy. And tonight was a good step in that direction for him. By the way, the last thing I want to note about the game tonight, curious if you guys agree. I thought the tech on Kanan Carlisle in the second half was lame, especially since they didn't call a tech in the first half when the Rutgers guy pulled Myles Rice on top of him. And then, it was a little bit of a shove, but flagrant. And it seems like every IU-Rutgers game, there's something that happens and someone gets a tech or something happens. I know we've been critical before, but I had a hard time, thinking that Kanan Carlisle was really that much at fault in that, especially with the precedent that had been set in the first half. So
yeah, the guy's feet almost got tangled up and made it look either that or he was acting to make it kind of embellish the contact.
Yeah.
He did shove him, but it didn't seem to be to the degree that he did that. I thought they were, yeah. So I thought it was
a little bit of an overreaction.
Call the foul,
no
that's
doubt.
fine, but I don't think it's a tech. Yeah.
Andy, I was just going to say that you could call a foul there, but I didn't see the tech. Now, the only thing was something also said. If you push and you say something at that point, then that's looked at as something else that we don't know. That's the only possible way I think it could have been a technical, but it just looked like a foul. But that could have been a big turning point there because Bailey hits that three. That could have been an 8-point possession at the time. And luckily it was only, 6 points. It was 58-55, I think, at that time or something like that. After that, that could have been –
yeah.
Or was it 58-52?
58-52, and then he missed the free throws.
Yeah, and then he hits a three, though, afterwards, right? Because Rutgers gets the ball.
They never got it closer than 7. It was 59-52, and then Rice hit the three. That was the closest that they got, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so it must have been the 2 threes made it from 58-46 to 58-52.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Pretty sure. That's what it was.
Yep.
All right. Any other lingering questions, guys, that you want to hit tonight before we move on? It's late. Andy's back. Andy? Just a huge, really hustle award for
All
Andy.
right. Yeah. Just an old. Yeah. When I roll myself off the couch here in a minute, it'll be great.
This has just been one of the best family reunions I've attended in a long time. I haven't seen my family. Haven't seen my family for a long time. We haven't all been together. I'm just glad we all made it to the reunion on this Thursday.
I just want everybody to enjoy the quad box. It might be a while before you see it again, but enjoy the quad box.
I like these late games. These games work so much better for me. Once everybody's in bed now, it's a lot easier.
You're not on the EST though.
I know.
What's that,
Coach?
I don't know. It's 3 letters they put behind my time all the time. I haven't figured it out yet.
Hey, by the way, I thought USC was good. Why is USC such dead weight for the Big Ten now, Ryan? Do you want to defend USC here? Football, basketball, terrible.
Basketball is, they're hit or miss with basketball. And it's Musselman's first year, so we'll see what he does. I've never been a huge devotee of the basketball team, quite frankly. But the football team, I think, lost Caleb Williams and didn't really have a ready-made replacement and were adapting to a new defensive system and lost a bunch of close games. They weren't good, don't get me wrong, but
those sound like self-imposed limitations to me.
Well, they took Penn State to overtime. They were in it with Notre Dame late. They had some games that were close and just blew them. And no, I'm not defending them. I'm saying they didn't finish games. We'll see. We'll see if they're dead weight next year. They very well could be, but we'll see.
So great. USC's in the Big Ten, and we can talk football trash to you. Who would have thought?
Please do. Look,
Google us, baby.
I win either way.
That's true. That is true. Okay. Make sure that you go to homefieldapparel.com. Use the promo code HOME23 to get 15% off your first order. Gentlemen, it is time for last call. Andy, we will let you go first.
I mean, as we said, good job by the team taking care of business. Thought one of the more complete performances. And really, when you see a guy as important to this team as Reneau has been go down in the first 30 seconds, I know we spent time talking about that, but that's a pretty big shift of what you plan to do coming into the game. That's kind of out the window as he goes down. And so I thought, impressive from Ballo to be able to step in, but just for other guys to be able to kind of pick up the slack and again, have a really balanced effort, both from a scoring standpoint. I think 6 guys had at least 5 rebounds. Just you kind of go down the list and you can find contributions from just about everybody who played and multiple ones. I think we highlighted that on the show. So hopefully, performance that gets a number of guys confidence going into a Penn State game with Penn State where you're going to need multiple guys to be able to contribute. And this stretch is going to be a gauntlet. The whole Big Ten, as Coach talked about, well, maybe I think what people were right about was that there probably isn't the top end team there, but I think how good it is 1 to 14 or 15 was probably something that was maybe understated heading into the season. So lots of great opportunities for the team, and this was one that they took advantage of, being able to get a win against Rutgers, and hopefully it's something they can start to stack, not only wins but just performances like this in terms of the way that they competed as we talked about. I think that's really a good way to put it. So hopefully they can bounce back on Sunday with or without Malik and be able to pick up first road win of the season and a really big conference win while they're at it.
Coach, last call.
Yeah, tonight was good, and we want to see more of it. I thought, again, going back to the word compete, but we played probably the second best game other than tonight was Minnesota, and then you go on the road to Nebraska and only play for about 32 minutes and get beat by double digits at the back end and have some inconsistent play against some bye teams after that. So a lot needs to be proven yet. This was what needed to be done tonight. Congratulations. You did a good job in adverse situations, as Andy was saying, when your starting center and your leading scorer goes down right away. All of that is good stuff. Tonight was good, overall good. But the key word is consistency. We've been saying it the whole preseason in the non-conference. You have to be consistent game in and game out. Are you going to be Maryland, who goes to Washington, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, and loses tonight? Or are you going to be like Illinois, who's up 102-75 against one of the better teams on the road? Indiana has to make sure they collectively play connected basketball and compete. And I think we all are in agreement. If you play that connected basketball and get beat on the road or by a good team, yeah, we'll be disappointed. We'll point out the negatives. But we have not seen competitive losses a lot on the road. We've seen non-competitive blowouts at times. So be consistent, Indiana Hoosiers. When you are, you're a fun watch, and you have a good chance of getting those all-important wins and quad one wins and having our name called in March and building back towards where we need to be step by step. But if you're not consistent, it's going to be this up and down and doubt with all of us. So take this and build on it.
Ryan, last call.
Yeah, I mean, that coach went exactly where I was going to go. This program has had an issue with success, not just total success, but when they have success, building on it, taking that next step. Don't take a step back, on Sunday. Don't play your game, play a good game. This is a very talented team that does not play, that we have seen not play up to its potential on a number of occasions. That needs to stop now. There's no more waiting around. There's no more getting to know each other. There's no more figuring it out. That needs to start now. As Coach mentioned, look at Illinois. Illinois is stomping Oregon at Oregon right now. That's a team Indiana should be on that level, given the investment in the program, the history, all of that stuff. That's the kind of thing Indiana should be doing. And this program doesn't do it. And it's not just Mike Woodson. It's the guy before too. It's the way the program is. It can be turned around. It can change. You just have to have the will to change it. and the will to play the right way and the way to do the right things and the way to handle your business on and off the court. Prove that you can do that. That's all you have to do. Prove that you can play to your ability. Prove that you are all talented players who can work together to do things in a manner that gets you a win. And the only thing preventing Indiana from doing that is Indiana. And there is talent there. There is enough talent there to win a Big Ten title. There's enough talent to make a run in the tournament. There is enough talent to do the things that this team needs to do to have a successful season. It's on them to do it. I mean, that's where we are. They showed they could do it tonight. They played hard. They made the right decisions. They hit open shots. All of those things are win you games on any night. You can carry that into any game. And now they just need to go do it against a competitive team that they have not had a lot of success against over the last couple of years. Go do it on Sunday. Then punish those USC Trojans next Wednesday. I'll be rooting for you to do it. And then move on to this tough part of the schedule and carry all those things with you. That's it. That's all you have to do is bottle up what you did tonight and take it forward. Can they do it? We'll find out on Sunday.
Yep. No, it's a take care of business kind of night. I think there's still a lot of reasons to have concern, about the team and about the program. And I think we all do. But Indiana couldn't make up for the Louisville and Gonzaga losses tonight. You couldn't beat Rutgers with Dylan Harper because he wasn't there. All you could do is beat the team that was there and really, avoid a real negative result. This isn't anything to write home about. It's a quad 3 win. What you really did is you avoided something very negative. But that's important. Good teams, as we saw with Indiana football, good teams take care of business. Now, maybe would you like to see the result be a little bit bigger and all those things? Yeah. But I still think there were some positives to take from this, especially, when you take into account that you lose.
We're done. No more
early
questions.
in the
I think
game.
they've gotten enough shit.
Wow. Okay.
Did you just get played off like at the Oscars? Was that
I think so.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's Eddie fat fingering things at 12:10 a.m. Eastern time for those that aren't on this.
That was Myles Rice throwing a cross court pass off the backboard.
That's exactly what that was. My apologies. Continue.
It would
That's
not.
right. You know
be
what?
an
I was
ep-
rambling
no,
anyway. I made my point. It's fine.
Things have
It's
run
fine.
way too smoothly tonight. We needed something, so
You're right.
appreciate
There
it.
it was.
It's
I
not.
wanted to do it right at the end.
Not an episode
Right at
of
the
Assembly Call without a technical error.
No, it's all good. I will say we are planning to be in town February 8th for the Michigan game. I know Andy's not going to be able to be there. I'm like 95% sure I'll be there. I know you guys are going to be there.
Yep.
So we'll have details and stuff of that coming. But if you're going to be around, that's for the Michigan game. That is the day before the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So probably a lot of early flights back. If the Packers end up making the Super Bowl, oh boy, I'm going to really be in some trouble.
Hang out in my hotel room, buddy.
see.
It's
We'll see.
because I'm staying.
We'll see.
I'm staying till Monday because I can't miss.
Are you
the
going? Are
Super
you going to watch
Bowl.
the Super Bowl in town?
Yeah, I have to with a
Yeah.
computer out and writing about it. It's a 12-hour day for us. So yeah, I will
It
be.
is.
But it was the only game that worked, man, with the schedule.
know.
It really was. So yeah, we'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
And we'll be
anyway,
at- are we gonna
as
be at
more
upstairs
details
again?
Come for that, probably.
We'll be at
Yeah,
ups-
we'll figure it
Yeah.
out. We will figure that out. But yeah, man. Look, it's fun to win. It's fun to come on the show after a win when the team played well. Good things happen. Shots fell down. So nice to be here with all of you. Nice to be here with everybody who's here live and listening on the podcast. We haven't had enough of these this year, so fun to be back. And we will be back Sunday. I don't know who will be here, but someone will be here with the show. Maybe our regular host, Coach Tonsoni and Coach Moats, will be back for the for the Sunday show. We'll see. We'll see who's available. But if you want to see us do the show live and be part of the live chat, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/assemblycall. Don't forget to go to substack.assemblycall.com to join our free email newsletter. Special thank you, as always, to Bob Thompson for the music you hear on the show. Special thank you to John Ringer of rigdesign.com for designing our logo. And thank you for listening. We'll be back Sunday to talk IU hoops again with you after IU Penn State. Until then.
Take it from me, Yogi Ferrell. Keep your elbows in and your eyes on the rim. And go Hoosiers.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Here goes I come. This is Stun Sony.
That's it. We're done. No more questions. I think they've gotten enough show.
Yo, this is Sneep Dio Double Dizzle.
Take that off.
I haven't heard that.
Oh, that was a long
I don't
time
have that
ago.
one. Can somebody send that to me?
That was
I need to
so
send that
long
too.
ago.
I don't like carrots.
I forgot some of these.
That one too.
favorite.
That one's in there.
That's a
too.
good one.
All right. Man, Ace Bailey. That guy was unbelievable.
Well, the funny thing is
He's
Harper may
good.
get drafted ahead of him because he's more of a guard. Like that's what I read the other day. They think that
I don't
they
know,
just
man.
value his position more. But they're both studs.
All I kept thinking, this
Harper's
is
their
not a good
leading
comparison.
scorer. Like
All I kept thinking watching him is he's Jay Edwards and Len Bias's body. Now he's not the athlete Len Bias was, but just
No.
that tall, lanky guy and the shot making. It's unbelievable.
well, the Durant comparisons are interesting, but he doesn't feel like he's as tall as Durant. They said he's 6'10". He's got to be like
No.
6'8", 6'9". Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not. And Durant also had those comically long arms, so nobody could like block his shot. Like, so I don't know. Like, there's something different. I mean, that's who he models his game after, clearly. But there's a little Dirk in there too. Like,
Yeah.
he's all over the place.
He's
with his
his shot making is unreal. It really
unreal, man. Like
Yeah.
He and Harper.
Fun to
if
watch
he-
a guy like that.
Like if Rutgers, here's the thing: if Rutgers gets it together with the supporting cast, they could win the Big Ten tournament. They could go on around and win the Big Ten tournament. Like just two guys going off like
With Harper
that.
and Bailey alone. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, but the
They
other guys
they
have
need
to like
the other guys to do supporting role stuff.
Yes,
Get rebounds,
exactly.
play defense, make an
Yeah.
open shot.
if they're not a complete nothing, they could easily enter on the bubble or just off and win the Big Ten tournament like easily with those guys.
Yeah, those two guys are. Man, that was some wild shot making. Holy moly!
I mean, he dropped 39 at Assembly Hall.
I know, and it could have been 50.
Well, and the crazy part is, it was like 19 in the first half and 20 in the second or something. It was split evenly like that. Like, oof, guy's good. He's good.
I'm signing off.
He will not be playing.
Good night,
college
everybody.
basketball. Yep. Later, buddy.
See you guys.
Night, coach.
We'll talk to
He
y'all
will not
soon.
be playing. Later.